5 days ago, and I believe that was Tuesday, correct?
I think.
It was like, okay, so we covered this Sunday night at midnight. They met on Monday, and by midday Tuesday, they had already announced a historic agreement, likely averting a strike. Likely, not totally. And that's what one of the things we're going to talk about here. All right. UPS workers were holding placards, obviously. So this is, I only went to the best of the best. I went to Sharon. So once they announced that there was a TA, I wanted to see, first of all, a couple of different perspectives. And what I found was that Truth Out, Common Dreams, The American Prospect, with our friend and the guy we've been covering a lot, which is Luis Feliz Leon, were really providing the perspective of the Teamsters and really from the union's perspective. And then I also wanted to go to see, well, what do the rank and files say? You know, the actual workers that are in the streets. And that's when I went to World Socialist website. First of all, even though I'm not crazy about their coverage, I want to see what they're saying. They're going to be the most extreme anti-corporate. I went to Payday Report. Then we went to Socialist Alternative, and we went to Left Voice, and we grabbed a couple of articles from Left Voice, and then we also went to Luigi Morris directly. So we're going to bring in a whole bunch of different viewpoints. Some of them are going to say the same things, and I want to see that kind of unity in messaging. And I want you to see that messaging, that unity in messaging on both sides. So first of all, we have unity. Exactly. Thank you, Richie. The Teamsters have reached a new agreement with UPS that the union is touting as the most historic deal in the history of the company. I like that framing because she's starting off saying that the union is touting it as that. It not necessarily is that yet. Likely avoiding the 340,000 worker strike that was slated to start August 1st. It will avoid it as of August 1st, but it may just kick the can down the road a little further. And that's what she's going to say here. Union and Company announced the deal Tuesday, just hours after they had returned to the bargaining table following a collapse in negotiations. I thought that corporate was going to cave and give the drivers and give the union whatever they wanted. And to me, my question is, why didn't they hold out for more? Why were they in such a hurry to run back and make a deal? They had leverage finally. They had the pilots in their pocket. Reef?
What?
Why did the Teamsters, in my mind, give in and negotiate with corporate rather than holding firm and saying, these are our terms, $25 an hour. Now, let's get into, he's going to say that we demanded the best contract. Now, here we go. Sean O'Brien, I gave him a lot of props last week, a lot of flowery rhetoric. And I said, let's see what happens. And I was very skeptical. And I had good reason to be. And I congratulated them right away when they made this deal. And I said, look, you guys got something done. And I give you a lot of credit for that. And as the reviews poured in about what this actually was, it wasn't exactly the best deal they probably could have made. And they're spiking the football, on the 5-yard line because they haven't made the end zone yet. And they didn't even get they're really spiking the football for kicking a field goal because they didn't get everything they wanted. They didn't score a touchdown. And you didn't necessarily even win the game.
Why?
All right, I'm going to Justin Jackson them. That's funny. See, Ryan Grimm, that's how you talk football and actually make sense. All right. So,
Disgusting.
Yes, we've changed the game, battling it out day and night. This is Sean O'Brien, battling it out day and night. Make sure our members want an agreement that pays strong wages, rewards their labor, and doesn't require a single concession. This was their thing. No concessions. This contract sets a new... Well, then if you got no concessions... Well, you didn't get your demands met. So those were concessions. $21 an hour instead of $25. That's a concession, Sean. This contract sets a new standard in the labor movement and raises the bar for all workers. Yes, it does. It does well, but it's still a half measure. And that's what Colin was screaming about. Well, that's what Colin was screaming about, is this is what you get with unions, is you're going to get compromise. You're always going to get that. And I'm going to provide a perspective on why they would take a deal. And it's lame, and I don't subscribe to it, but at least it's something. So here you go. The UPS CEO called the deal a win-win-win. When you've got the CEO of UPS, when you've got everybody on Capitol Hill all touting this deal as a good thing, the workers got screwed. The company was going to lose $810 million from a 10-day strike and potentially a large number of customers, which happened during UPS's last strike in 97. We talked about that last week, right? So
yep.
Now you're very loud all of a sudden. Did you change something? You just
yes, close? Colin said I was low.
Wow, now you're loud in my ear. But okay.
Hopefully this fixes it.
That's okay. You can scream in my ear a little.
Sorry. Okay.
All right. The existing
Tell me
workers
if I'm too loud, I can turn it down a little bit.
Right. And the existing workers are getting a raise of $275 an hour this year, $750 over the next 5 years. Part-time workers' pay is going to a base of 21, going up as low as 23 from a minimum of 1620. So it is substantial, and that's what he keeps touting, is it's a 48% raise over the course of the contract. So wait a minute. What does the cost of living go up over the 5 years, or since their last
I bet more than $275.
Oh my God. Since their last negotiated contract. Now, she's also touting, and she's basically repeating the Teamster talking points, because at this point, they hadn't released the full TA. They're basically going on the PR release from the union in conjunction with UPS. So again, this contract still needs to be agreed upon by the rank and file in order to be finalized. Union leaders will be meeting at the end of the month to review the contract. So that's the rah-rah championing of the labor union side. Jake Johnson from Common Dreams also had a very similarly written article. I mean, they might as well have just teamed up and written the same thing together. He embedded a tweet from the Teamsters that had their "We've changed the game"
right.
By the way, I'm gonna say something that may be unpopular here, but are you listening, Chris Smalls? This is how a PR arm works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
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 Next.
Yeah, boy.
On top of that, the PR arm works with reporters to plant stories like this. UPS workers disproved that corporate media's narrative of strikes being harmful. It was UPS workers' willingness to strike, not corporate kindness, that earned them the new TA. It was also the pilots saying they weren't willing to fly, but the demonstrations and those practice pickets, like I said last week, you heard the sound of the UPS executives shitting their pants. Right? They were scared. They were scared for their own jobs, because a strike meant they were going to lose their jobs. Not just the union members could potentially lose their health care, and they were putting it all on the line. Corporate executives were going to lose their jobs. That's why they came back to the table. So here we go again. According to a statement, in the days and weeks to come, members will debate the pros and cons of the proposal. But one thing seems undeniable: any significant gains won by Teamsters against a reluctant employer will have come about because rank and file workers showed the company that they were prepared to strike. Right? And this is where they praise TDU, and we've seen a bunch of criticism of TDU as well. Teamsters for a Democratic Union, which is a longtime reform group pushing for more militancy and rank and file democracy within the union. They're also, I believe, aligned with Shama Sawant and maybe even with DSA. They noted in a statement that UPS walked away on July 5th after telling our union that they had nothing more to offer. And in the following weeks, members ramped up these practice pickets, making loud and clear they were willing to strike, and management read the writing on the wall and went from nothing more to offer to the most lucrative contract in Teamster history. And this is where I don't like...
Which sounds like he's the most progressive Democrat in modern history. Like, that's what that sounds like.
Is that the world's tallest midget?
Like,
sorry,
kinda
little person. Sorry, I don't
little person.
I don't want to be anti-PC here, but
You know,
While it will be up to members to decide on the contract, at least one lesson should be clear. Strikes or the real threat of strikes work. And 100% agreed, Derek Seidman over at Truth Out. That's the reason why I wanted to put this article in, was at least Truth Out gets that strikes and the threat of strikes actually does have an effect on management. And they don't just say, we're going to replace you with scabs. Now, you need solidarity. And it was precisely because they were prepared to strike that they were able to extract new and important gains, because there was nothing else that had changed from the time that corporate had left the table. Corporate media's criticism of strikes are not uniquely applied to UPS drivers. They're deployed whenever workers threaten to strike. Teachers, nurses, railroad workers, screenwriters, they've all faced these attacks. I really like this article written by Derek. Right? They spoke to several UPS Teamsters and their supporters about corporate media narratives surrounding the potential strike. They offered starkly different arguments of a corporate powerhouse that raked in all the talking points that we've talked about. Over $100 billion in revenue last year, which is forcing a strike on itself because it refuses to pay its massive part-time workers a decent wage. So here we go. Rah, rah. This is awesome, right? Everybody's so happy. And Luis, who's been working very closely with TDU, he also got himself published in the American Prospect. Good for you, man. American Prospect is a much bigger paper, but to me, it's also got a reputation for not only being accurate, but also being kind of shit-libby. David Dayan is a TYT regular. I'm not going to cancel people for going to certain places that could give them potential bigger reach, but I am going to question.
I can.
You can, but I'm going to question why they're allowing them their work to be published in an outlet like this. But it doesn't, he's classing the joint up as far as I'm concerned. Luis, to me, is better than the American Prospect. I think that he's better than that at Labor Notes. But so he goes inside the historic contract at UPS. I think he also has started to do a little bit of PR for the union. And he, of course, wants to see this contract go through, and he thinks that it's a good thing, and he's going to argue why. Now, this is a long article. Even at 1.5 times speed, it's 12.5 minutes. I'm not going to read this whole article because Reef would murder me. But
that's
okay.
Let you tap first.
That's okay, because this combines with previously announced concessions. It's a lot of the same language, but I really want to get into more of the criticisms of what this is, because I think that we've seen a lot of happiness and a lot of excitement, and I haven't really seen too many people other than Shama Sawant, Worker Strike Back, and Revolutionary Blackout online, for the most part, give them all tremendous credit for saying that this was not a great deal for the workers. So, this is Luis Feliz Leon over in the American Prospect. TDU provided education, coordinating with rank and file Teamsters after members held a Teamsters United workshop and organized their own practice pickets. Local 41's leadership organized a practice picket at one of UPS's 3 major hubs in the area. So, it was showing everybody else by a small number of people standing out and stepping up and going, this is how we're going to do this, right? Perhaps the biggest victory prior to the TA involved air conditioning. And we're going to talk about air conditioning some more, because this is where, they made as part of the tentative agreement, and I don't think I actually even brought up the tentative agreement. However, it's going to say WSWS, that we're going to go to in a minute, is going to break down where it isn't necessarily great for the workers and for the drivers, right? They're saying that the brown trucks are like a microwave because of the dark color.
Right? Yep.
Another one.
What can brown do for you?
Emil, who's in that same local with Luigi Morris, right? Sales rushes like Prime Day are particularly grueling. The trucks are overflowing, and it's hard to find the packages. Last August, the UPS Teamsters rallied that the company put fans and air conditioning in trucks instead of ratcheting up the already intense audio and video monitoring by surveillance cameras, right? And that's, we talked about how much they're eye tracking these guys and ladies,
Yeah.
which is gross. UPS agreed to install air conditioning in its 94,000 vehicle fleet by 2024, and also to equip trucks with new heat shields and fans. Except that's not exactly the case. I don't believe that the entire 94,000 vehicle fleet will be outfitted with air conditioning. And we're going to talk about that. That was what they wanted. That's what they say. That's what Luisa say UPS agreed to. I don't believe that is the case, but we're going to find out. On the bustling Brooklyn practice picket line, he was handing out flyers charging $30 for plates full of West Indian staples like curry chicken, right? But 22 years ago, here's one of the guys who hired in at UPS as a part-timer and moved up to package car driver through the company's seniority system. And
Right.
part-timers can't live off $16 an hour. Again, you're talking about minimum wage. It's 100 degrees in summertime. One person packs 1,000 packages in 4 trucks. Better wages, more hours. This is what they want. Yeah, the new contract doesn't sound legit. Yeah, exactly. That, yeah, Colin. Ooh, yeah, that's right. That's how you have a PR arm. You know, I will say that, good or bad or not, there was messaging that was put out directly on behalf of the union and in the voice of the workers. Whether the rank and file agreed with it or not, there was a PR arm that represented their union that was out there and in front of corporate media to put out a press release, for example, so that their messaging and their narrative gets put out first. And people are at least going from that perspective and providing that and incorporating that into whatever analysis and coverage they were going to do.